Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. So this week we're basically going to be talking about areas that need to be honed in on in the Division 2. And now that they've brought out the summit content, they brought out this Iron Horse raid, the seasons are going, I think that they're actually working towards bringing some other content down the road. Now this sounds like something that some people may push against, but to me, it's what it looks like, because there are some changes that are being made and some steps that they're taking that makes it seem as such. So before we start even progressing through that aspect, we need to talk about a few things. One of them is armor and health, which I've addressed in past videos, but no one else has really talked much about it in depth. And I'm going to go ahead and do a video for that actually and suggest some possible, I would say fixes. And hopefully they listen, because it's time that this, this thing actually comes to center stage and gets fixed. But in today's video, we're going to be looking at the horrors of game development from what I've been able to learn and read throughout the past, I would say 1.5 to 2 years. Now, I see a lot of the comments and a lot of different opinions of people saying another developer should take the Division 2 away from Massive Ubisoft, because some people say things like Ubisoft doesn't really know what they're doing, or Massive doesn't know what they're doing, then another studio should come in that knows what they're doing and take on the game. Here's the little deal for y'all. If another studio really knew or wanted to do a better version of the Division 2, I think they would have done it by now, don't you think? I mean, there are a lot of them out there, a lot of big names. Activision has a lot of studios underneath them that could have done it. 2K, Take-Two, Warner Brothers games. I mean, EA. Do these companies not have big and very, very capable studios? Are there indie studios who aren't capable? I mean, you got to ask yourself the question, where are the developers who are capable of taking on the Division 2? Now, I know the first thing you're going to yell is, oh, the developer of Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red. Well, believe you me, they would probably have been happy to take on it, but they've been on Cyberpunk for like the past 7 years. If that doesn't tell anybody anything, that game development is a very traumatic process and very drawn out, then I don't think anything else will. The thing that makes CD Projekt Red really stand out is because they are, in a sense, their own developer and have reached publisher status, even though they work with Warner Brothers from time to time and, probably use different channels to distribute their games. They still prioritize and take that aspect and take pride in making sure that their game is delivered with quality. Even till now, The Witcher 3 has been optimized and optimized and optimized. You play that game right now, you would think that's a game that was released just yesterday. Yes, something's a little bit dated about the game, but the game is pristine when it runs on a PC. Now, the thing with the Division 2 is it's also a pristine game, runs very well on the PC. Problem is, the developers did not do their job in optimizing the game to fit the current machines, and I would say specifically the PlayStation 4. But even if another development team came in to take a game like this, where would they start from? The concept of the Division and the Division 2 are very unique to the people whoever it was that dreamt up the concept. The implementation, the way things are, is so complicated and complex. I have a feeling that more than not, a lot of games are most likely staying away from the deep aspects of the Division on purpose. Think about what it takes to make a build in the Division 1 and the Division 2. I don't know many games where it takes you that many attributes or many different parameters to be able to put a build together to achieve something. Think about any shooter, third person, that has the skills that we have, that has to do the really cool things that the Division 1 and Division 2 can actually do. No one in the industry wants to touch a game like this as we speak. Perhaps somebody is dealing with it in the background, but it's a very hard concept to put together. And that is why the Division 1 and the Division 2 are the only games of their own kind. Because even in the Division 1, there were a lot bigger issues in the onset of that game than the Division 2. And I believe that anybody who was hungry enough to want to come into that space and take the cake from Massive had the perfect opportunity to do it in patch 1.2 of the Division 1, but no one still touched it. We went through patch 1.3 and no one still came around. We went through 1.4 all the way through 1.8, and then they announced that they were making a Division 2, and they still did not get a contender. Does that not surprise you? But look again at the reverse side. All the while through 2016, even through the Division 2's release, there was a huge explosion of Battle Royale free-to-play style games. I don't know if there's something about the monetization or if maybe developing a game like that is much easier, but you got to see games like PUBG get a huge explosion. You saw Battlefield, I think it was Battlefield 1, get a huge explosion. You got to see even games like Fortnite get a bigger explosion around that season. And then, a game like Apex Legend came into the picture, and these games have enjoyed a weird huge success because that battle royale theme started to pick up some steam. Now it's kind of died down a little bit, but Call of Duty has also stylishly thrown themselves into that market again in order for them to continue to gain that traction, that very casual or maybe even hardcore free-to-play traffic, and then monetize on the back end. A game like The Division 2, on the other hand, is an original concept. It's kind of, in a sense, in the same box with maybe you can put it in the same area, let's not say box, with Destiny and Destiny 2, but Destiny still doesn't have the kind of complexity that The Division 2 has. Think about having to deal with a skill like a seeker mine, something that you put down, it detects an enemy so many meters away, or the other seeker mine variation, you target an enemy and that seeker mine rolls over there and explodes, dealing the amount of damage based on all of the attributes that you have on. That is just one thing. Can you imagine how much it takes to code something like that? Then if we even go back and look at cost, there was an article that was released a while ago where somebody actually wrote and said it took $2,500, $2,500 to make trash in the Division 1 on one of the roads. Now, yes, that's an asset that was made that would have most likely been, duplicated, but then, I would say, put in different aspects of the game and multiplied, whatever it is. But design, implementation, content creation, developer costs, all those things go into making a game like this. It's not a simple thing. If you look at the average cost of a developer, I'm talking somebody who's working on a game engine, they make very significant amounts of money. And Massive right now is staffing about 700 of, these kinds of people altogether anyways. I'm not saying just full-on developers. I'm talking community managers. I'm talking marketing people, all of this stuff. Some people's salaries is probably sitting close to medical doctors who just walked out of, medical school or walked out of residency. And Massive has to, basically field that paycheck for all these devs. If it was that easy to take on a game like this, I guarantee you we would have seen this game or this kind of game explode across the board. Many games have come and tried to do something that is close to a slice of what this game is trying to do. There's another game that's in the works that's made by the people who made one of these free-to-play games. I think it's called Plan 8, but all we've seen is a trailer. And we saw that trailer, I think, about a year or two ago, and since then, we've not heard anything about this game. From the trailer, it looked like, yeah, this is a game that seems like it's going to give The Division a run for its money. But here we are, The Division 2 is just the only one slowly trucking along with all of its problems and all of its issues, and yet it has not gotten a challenger. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to provide and prove a huge challenge to The Division because that development team has a reputation. It's a reputation that gamers all across the board respect. Even if they have not played any of CD Projekt Red's game, they definitely respect CD Projekt Red. But I think what we need to understand is game development is not an easy task. To bring in another team to come and take over the whole project is to just destroy the entire franchise. The people who can resolve this game, who can solve the issues, are the people who work in this studio and on this game. I think where we have a little divide and we have a little problem is most likely, in my opinion, the way bureaucracy works. Now, you kind of say, well, how does bureaucracy work? Like, what are these things that we're looking at? Well, look at Ubisoft games. A lot of their games are made by engines that are developed in-house. I've not seen many Ubisoft games that takes a game engine from the outside. Ubisoft usually uses their own game engine. And when I say a game engine, it's a major component used to design the game. They could use other tools, other design tools, other motion graphic tools and stuff to, kind of make things work easily. But usually you're going to see this base level of them using their own engine. In the case of The Division 2, it's the Snowdrop engine. Now, to be very frank and to be very fair, the Snowdrop engine is not a perfect engine. Even the Snowdrop so-called 2.0 engine that was used to develop Division 2 also has its issues, and some of its issues are very similar to the issues from the Division 1. And all in all, this engine might have some issues that probably still need to be fixed, as we have even seen in some other video games on other studios. If you look at the debacle between the EA Motive Studios canceled Star Wars game, Insider Chatter tells us that one of the biggest problems was the Frostbite engine. The Frostbite engine is the engine that was used to develop Battlefield 1 and I think Battlefield 5. And this engine was developed by DICE, EA DICE's studio in Europe. Well, when they tried to use that engine to make a third-player Star Wars game, it was a nightmare. And so the chatter was that this nightmare basically delayed a lot of the progress that they could make until I think the investment EA saw they were making was no longer worthy of them continuing, and then they scrapped it. If you look at even Jedi Fallen Order, guess what game engine that game came out on? Unreal Engine. Because they could have been using Unreal Engine 3. That's also a valid game engine. But here's the catch with an engine like Unreal. You got to pay Epic Games that money once you make sales up to a point. Even to the point where many development firms started to kind of back away from there. And Epic Games had to give a huge incentive and say, hey, even up to $1 million of sales, you can get Epic Games engine for the Unreal Engine for free for their release of Unreal Engine 5. And then they told people that they could just pour all their whole games and their assets to the Unreal Engine 5 in order to give them an incentive. Now, if you go back again and look at games as far back as Arkham, and you know, the Arkham games, these are some real fun, polished games. They also ran on the Unreal Engine. And this is a top premium game development engine, even though some people may say it has some little quirks. It's still one that has delivered so many good games, but a lot of studios have been in a position where they're basically kind of staying away because there's that cost. Tekken 7, developed under Unreal Engine, a very quality fighter game, and so many other games of that nature. So I think a lot of the whole talk about getting a new development firm to come in will have to address all of these complexities from top all the way down before you can take the franchise Division 2 and hand it to another studio. I know we say it like developing a game is like putting Legos together, but this team cannot seem to be able to, fit the pieces to make the picture come out. But to be very frank, they're the ones that are going to eventually get it done, or they stop playing in the game and somebody else comes in and knocks them out the competition. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and this is where we're stuck. So if you like a game like the Division 2, my biggest encouragement will be to continue to provide feedback if you can, or let the game alone, so that if you don't pay for games like this or DLCs like this, the game developers will eventually wake up to bringing more quality to the table. You can go with your wallet. That's the way to go. Some of us were okay with taking what we get, and I come from that perspective where I say, you know what? I know and I've seen how difficult it is to bring a game to the market. I've done some research. I've been reading, looking at articles. I read a book by a games journalist about this process, and I've seen how tedious it is. I haven't downloaded the Unreal Engine to start working and learning how to do this process, and I saw how daunting it is for you to be able to perform some very simple tasks. To imagine a game like The Division, when you look at the beginning process, is a wonder of technology. I'm telling you, many of you may not see it. You may point to another game which are bigger marvels of what we see in today's gaming landscape. But I guess we'll do I'll do another episode like this where I talk about these things. I guess that's where I come from when I talk about how I feel like this game has, some good aspects to it, but many people can't really see it. But I guess I'm coming from that, perspective where I've seen different games just die, not because there's not talent, not because there's not good writing, but because of technological limitations and a lot of the other factors that press in on bringing a game to the market. I'll stop here for now. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section, and hopefully we'll see you in another video. Peace.